Hello, hello. Uta here with one of my last bouquets. I hope that you shared uh, all over the place the last two videos that I did about New York Proposal 1. Everyone should vote no on it. And, for the future, in any locations where the phrases gender identity and gender expression are proposed as words needing to be listing a protected class and to be in a constitution, a state constitution, that kind of thing, be sure to vote no. Now, what I'm really telling you about is an interesting thing. This might be one reason why I got possibly banned, but maybe only on pause from X after my whopping 3 days. I tagged Dr. Ray Blanchard, who originated the autogynephile category, and he originated the Blanchard Protocols of cross-dressing for 2 years. And I guess during that 2 years taking the opposite sex hormones, and that was supposed to get you a letter from, 2 or 3 mental health clinicians to say, yes, this person is a true transsexual and absolutely needs to have sex trait modification surgeries. And now we're finding out just how often these individuals suffer from incontinence in the long term post-surgery, and which, that makes sense in light of the bad results of the unfortunate truth from the Swedish death study showing that of natal females post-operation, they are 40 times higher than the age and income matched controls. And for natal males in that situation, post-surgeries, compared to controls, they are 19 times higher likelihood of committing suicide. And this is how they did it. In the records, which a socialist country like Sweden can do, the researchers have permission to go through. They were looking for the deaths of individuals who had these surgeries from the years 1973 to 2003. This study was published in 2011. So some of those people who died had only had the surgeries in 2003. So, and what they did was then they found other Swedes who, for some reason, they were of the same age, so some of them not so old, who had died but did not have their sex marker identification changed. And so that was the control group. They went and sifted through all the results, found and matched both opposite sex and same sex for each individual who died, who had identified as trans and completed going through these surgeries. And what they found was that for every one Swede who was not having this mental illness, which they called cis in the literature, it's really insulting, but that's what they do. CIS as a prefix. And then they called males who had had the surgeries trans women, and females who had had the surgeries, trans men. So it becomes very problematic for your regular layperson to interpret all of this jargon. So I don't know if I finished my sentence, but for every one Swede who died of suicide in that very large cohort, because there were, I think, 388 of the trans-identified Swedes post-op. And then they had, these sets of both same-sex and opposite sex for each of them that were the same age, that were the control groups. Quite honestly, I'm so surprised that they found so many Swedes who had died. But anyway, there are accidents and illnesses and stuff. They did find a slightly higher cancer rate, which they really didn't write about much. This is Cecilia Dana et al. At the Karolinska Institute. And so for every one Swede who had killed themselves, who was in the control group, who was what they called cis, who's just a regular person, for every one Swede that committed suicide, for the natal females, there were 40 trans post-op trans men, they called them, who had committed suicide. So the suicide rate compared to controls was 40 times higher, not 40% higher, 40 times higher. For the males, for every one Swedish male who had committed suicide, same age, etc., who was, not identifying as trans, for every one of the controls, there were 19 males who claimed to be females that were called trans women who killed themselves. So that means the death by suicide rate for males was 19 times higher. This took a while to settle in Sweden, but as a result, they recalibrated what the treatment is for at least children who are presenting with this. Now, we could also suggest a study for the rates of sepsis and liver failure, kidney failure, various cancers, and in United States death records, and just get some kind of comparison. First start with those trans-identified individuals like Griffin Shawn, named originally Michaela Sivret, and Liam Johns, I don't know what her original name was, who at age 35 died of kidney failure after some period of dialysis. My guess is it's really, really ill-advised for women who have been taking testosterone for years to go off of it and then get pregnant a couple of times and then go back on the testosterone, because that is going to put a great strain on your kidneys. Liam Johns probably also already had damaged kidneys, I would guess, before she had these little children. She died last spring and at the age of 35, and Griffin Shawn Sivret died at age 24 last July. So now on to my Blanchard message. Blanchard, Cantor, Zucker, and Bailey, who are the four horsemen of the transsexualism diagnosis, and have been regarded as the great minds of this field. Okay. For example, Ray Blanchard says famously, "Oh, the women don't like it," about women like me. So that was my problem. I said it on X to him, tagged him, that I'm one of those women who doesn't like it, and I got PTSD, so what do you have to say about that, Doc? I guess that was a little cheeky. Anyway, I also said the same thing to James Cantor, um, who I also regard as sketchy because he got himself on the boards of a couple of child sexual molester organizations. One famous one is NAMBLA, North American Man Boy something. I don't know what the other things are. League of America? I don't know. Okay. They listed a case that they knew about and might have actually interviewed Sam Kaye, who for 25 years, until about 2 years ago, named himself Maya Kaye and did the operations, the breast implants, the castration, and all of that, unfortunately. And now, 25 years later, has a channel called Call Me Sam, and he has taken us through his detransition process. And I saw him wavering when Debbie David Hayton appeared, interviewing on his channel, which used to be called something else. I think it used to be called Maya Kaye. So he renamed it to Call Me Sam. And there was another famous one. It was interviewed a while ago, sort of an AGP kind of a guy who had all the surgeries. He was interviewed on Andrew Gold, Heretic's channel. And both of them were really trying to convince Sam that he really didn't need to detransition. What we need to do is normalize and destigmatize AGP, autogynephile, imagining yourself sexually as a woman and getting turned on by that. Okay, so I am calling out James Cantor, Michael Bailey, Ray Blanchard, and Kenneth Zucker for naming in their literature Sam Kaye as a son of a man who transitioned, which Sam Kaye was, 8 or 9 when his father did this. And then Sam had a very tumultuous early adulthood, was running around with a criminal gang and very involved with drugs and stuff, witnessed a murder. And then he decided to take whatever money he got from that and pay for all these operations and so-called transition. And for quite a while, I think this was in the 1980s and 90s, he was sort of popular. He's tall and thin and apparently looked like a large, masculine female fashion model. And he was in that scene for a while, the glitterati, also behind-the-scenes cocaine scene in London. And so I guess Maya Kaye had a certain, fame. And then he ended up going and spending some time, like, just out in the country a few years ago, living in the Highlands of Scotland, and decided to detransition. And his voice was very much damaged by the estrogen, and trying to throw his voice higher, like Nettie's was. Nettie sounds like he used to be a pack-a-day smoker. And so, based on the thread of one, possibly two, case studies, in quotes, Ray Blanchard and James Cantor at least surmised that there might be some kind of genetic connection. It might be some kind of genetic anomaly, as opposed to social contagion and response to trauma, abuse, and grief. So, sorry, Ray Blanchard, you're just not going to shut me up. You might get me, booted from X, but you're not going to shut me up because you have done wrong and you won't admit it. I don't care that you're 80 years old. I'm 68, and we in the older generation need to help and lead the younger generation out of pink mist land, the land of no boundaries.